Men being held in captivity, and again I sympathize with the families that are going through this difficult period, and I again appreciate the solidarity of all Fijians to stand together in this difficult period that the RFMF and soldiers are going through in Syria. Unfortunately, until today, nothing has changed for us, or nothing has changed for our soldiers in Syria. We've still yet to confirm where they are actually located, although we've had several analysis of where they may be, but we haven't really confirmed any exact position. We have now negotiators on the ground that's working for us, and we've also trying very hard to make sure that we increase the pressure both on UN and the countries that can influence our position in Syria. Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working very hard with all our missions overseas to put pressure on those that can have some effect on the people on the ground. Again, we are in daily contact with our officers in Syria and also with our permanent representative in the UN. First, to update us on any information that may come past them, but also to put pressure on them on the safe release of our personnel. Thank you. Yeah. There are several demands that are being put by different groups. I think you can see that on the different social media that you may read. However, the three that I gave were the official demand that the UN is now working on. And that's perhaps will be the negotiating lines that we're working on. But we can't rule out that with such groups, there can be additional demands, there can be unreasonable demands, and there can be very abrupt demands that can come during the negotiations. I know there is now a lull period. I queried the UN, why is there a lull in between negotiations? And he said that's normal in such circumstances that the captors would shy away from negotiations and do not establish contact so that they can regain the initiative on the negotiations. But those are tactics that is used, and I hope that we will resume discussion soon, and can we get it back on the line. No, there hasn't been any deadline as yet. We have not been given any timelines to meet their demands. We've also had offers from all other major countries that have intelligent assets in the area, or those that can bring to bear the intelligent assets of other countries that are in the area. And we're using them. We're pushing information to them for verification and for clarification, and they're giving us the information that we want, but mainly for clarification of some of the things that we're receiving. And we appreciate all the help that we're getting at the moment. If anything, it will improve our chances of getting the position. But I don't think, seriously, it doesn't affect the selection process. The UN selection process is very stringent, and it has very set criteria on its selection process and interview processes. We're now just filling in the forms. He hasn't gone in for interview, but that's the last thing on our mind now. The first thing on our mind is to ensure the safe release of our individuals as are now held captives, and of course the continuing operations of our battalion in Syria. I can tell you that the Fijian soldiers, despite where we work, are very loyal to commanders. And in UN peace operations, the force commander is the supreme commander in such operations. And it's already natural that we follow the command of the force commander. And we understand the dilemma a force commander decision processes, or everyday decision processes that he has to go through to ensure the safety of not only a battalion, but all the UN components. But there is also a national interest that's always at play, national pride and national interest. But at no stage in our operation would I expect any of my officers not to follow the decisions of the force commander. The Philippines have chosen to do so, and the Filipinos government have supported the Filipinos for having chosen the path they have chosen. We cannot, criticize them for it, nor will we follow what other decisions they have made. We live by our own ethos of following command. I know there is now a problem with command in the Andov hierarchy because of the resignation of the chief of staff, who is a very important figure in the UN hierarchy, in the force hierarchy in Andov. But nevertheless, there are capable people within the headquarters who will quickly take up the post. But with the extraction of the Filipinos, there are also 11 staff officers of the headquarters that are also now that will return home with the Filipino contingent. So you're talking about 340 odd people from the Philippines, which will leave a big gap in the UN force component in Syria. How that will be filled will up to the UN. We've already put in our interest in the UN. If we wanted, we can increase our force. We can put in more people if required. But that is the nature of our relationship with the UN and with the force commander. We appreciate the work that the force commander is doing now in the difficult scenario that he's in. Is now moving around to all the Fijian positions and the Nepalese positions, reassuring everybody, moving to each individuals and talking to individuals with CO Fijibat, and visiting all our people, and that shows that he cares, and he appreciates the contribution that we've done, and I have no qualms in following the orders issued by the force commander and by UN headquarters. We've just marched them in. They're now going through the training process. They are not leaving any soon. The decision to withdraw the 45 or replace the 45 will be made after the return of the 45 from captivity. Then they will go through a debriefing process, a psychological debriefing process, which will make assessment on them. If there's a requirement to send all of them back home, then we have replacement to replace them. If there is a requirement to send a few that have been traumatized, then we will just replace a few. Others may choose to continue, and we've had that instance with the Philippines, who were held captive for 2 or 3 weeks because they were not harmed, they were not traumatized. They continued the mission until they completed the term. So the honors will be on the psychological debriefing on their release, whether we bring them home and replace them. But from our side, we've got now people trained in case we want to replace them, or there is a requirement to replace them, then we will replace them. But we don't want to leave it to the last minute, because they need to go through this training regime before we can deploy them. If there's a requirement to do so, and with concurrence of government, we can send more troops. We've never been given a sum, they just want a compensation. And that would be subject for negotiations. There's another 2 things I want to add. I received an audio clip in New Zealand that was released by Sitiveni Rambuka, who said that any harm that come to soldiers in Syria would affect the Muslims in Fiji, or the Muslims in Fiji could come to some harm. I was given that audio clipping from New Zealand and Radio Tirana, and I think it's the most unfortunate comment that anybody who's been a Prime Minister of Fiji can do. It's very irresponsible, and I think it's closing in on inciting violence in Fiji, and we should condemn it. And I hope all media organizations condemn that remark, and we hold Citizen accountable for those remarks that he's made. And I say again, it's very irresponsible, and a person who's been a commander of the RFMF, a person who's been a Prime Minister of Fiji, a person who has lived in multiracial community as ours, continue to make these comments only shows the sick attitude of that individual. And I reiterate, the RFMF will look after all Fijians, and we don't hold anything against any Fijians for what's happening in Fiji. I think this is the time that we should all stand together and work together and love one another for the sake of those that are held captive. It is not the time to start pointing fingers at others, especially internally, and I condemn that remark in most outrageous way. I don't know, the police will have to pick that up if they want to, but certainly the audio was sent in yesterday. The other remark, I think, was I was asked by the Fiji Times yesterday, that was given by the peacekeepers, who said that the leadership of those people on the ground was questionable. I want to tell the people of Fiji that those people made those decisions under circumstances that none of us know. The fact that the peacekeepers have served in Lebanon, we appreciate their service to RFMF and to the nation, but it doesn't give them the right nor the expertise to speak or to belittle the people that have worked in Syria. We should be proud of the work that our people are doing in Syria. We should accept that they made decisions under the circumstances that they only know at that time the decisions were made, and we should not belittle anyone. I think we should all stand together and work together and pray for them to come back safely. Those are two comments that I think were very irresponsible for people that should not make those comments. And I think we should stay together and condemn those kind of comments, because at the moment we need to all work together. We have to make sure that the solidarity of all Fijians are intact whilst we go through this difficult period, for the sake of the families of the soldiers there, and also for the morale of the peacekeepers that are working overseas, not only there, but also in Iraq and Sinai. Thank you.